In this video, we're going to break down AWS data transfers costs in a clear, simple way. And once you understand how data moves, you'll be able to design better architectures and avoid surprises on your monthly bill. Before we get into numbers, let's zoom out for a second. Think of AWS as a big global network with different zones where data can move. So anytime data crosses a boundary from AWS to public internet, between regions, or between availability zones, there can be a cost. And in most AWS environments, data usually moves in three main ways. The first one is between the public internet and AWS. The second one is within AWS inside a single region. And the third one is between different AWS regions. Let's just start with the most common one, which is data transfer between the public internet and AWS. When we talk about traffic, we have inbound and outbound traffic. The first one is inbound traffic, which is the internet traffic to the AWS. Any data you send into AWS from the public internet, or if we frame it the other way, the traffic that you receive on your AWS resources from the internet is free of charge. The next one is outbound traffic, which is the AWS's traffic to the internet. And this is typically the most expensive type of data transfer in AWS. When your applications send data back out to users on the public internet, you pay per gigabyte. The exact price depends on the service and the region, but a common rough number is around 9 to 10 cents per gigabyte with volume discounts as you transfer more data. And it is worth mentioning that for every AWS account, you have a free tier, and at the first 100 gigabytes per month of outbound data transfer to the internet, you're free of charge. So the idea here is simple. Sending data into AWS is free, but sending it out to the internet is where costs start to grow. So next, let's talk about data transfers within AWS. Here we have two main patterns: data transferred within a single region and data transfers across regions. And because this traffic usually stays on the AWS global backbone network, it tends to be cheaper than going out to the public internet, of course. When data moves from one AWS region to another, there's also a per gigabyte charge. You'll see this in things like replicating data between regions for disaster recovery, synchronizing databases between continents, and multi-region application designs. Cross-region designs are great for resilience and global reach, but they do come with a transfer cost. So in other words, use them on purpose and keep an eye on how much data you're moving. Alright, so that was across regions. Now let's bring it back closer to home and talk about what happens inside a single region. Inside a region, you have multiple availability zones or AZs, and the cost again depends on whether traffic stays in one AZ or crosses into another. First, traffic within the same availability zone. This is often free or very, very cheap for common patterns. The next one is traffic across different availability zones in the same region. Cross-AZ communication is typically built at small per gigabyte rate, which can add up if services are very chatty. So the main point here is same AZ is the cheapest, cross-AZ is still on the AWS network but slightly more expensive. And hear me out, here's the part that catches a lot of people off guard. It's not just where your resources live in AWS, it's how your traffic is routed. Meaning that even if two resources live in the same region, if you accidentally route their traffic out through the public internet and back in again, you'll pay unnecessary outbound internet charges. So when you design your architecture, try to keep traffic on private paths whenever possible. Things like VPC internal networking, private IPs, VPC endpoints, and internal load balancers can help much on this. If you want a deeper refresher on regions, availability zones, check our AWS Global Infrastructure video where we already explain all of them in more detail. Alright, with all of that in mind, let's put it into a simple cost spectrum. Here's the overall spectrum of data transfer cost from most expensive to cheapest. The number one is outbound traffic to the public internet. It has the highest per gigabyte rates. Number two is traffic between regions and inter-regions. It is also billable per gigabyte, often used for disaster recovery and multi-region designs. Number 3 is traffic across availability zones in the same region. It's usually inexpensive per gigabyte, but not zero. And number 4 is traffic within a single availability zones or to region-wide services. Generally the cheapest and can often be free for very common patterns. So the rule of thumb is the further your data travels, the more it tends to cost. If you keep these patterns in mind, you'll understand AWS networking costs more clearly and you'll be able to design cloud architectures that are cost-effective from day one. Alright, that's a wrap for this video, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to watch our AWS Global Infrastructure that helps you gain a better understanding of the overall big picture. Please make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel and I'll see you in the next video.